Homework, it makes me crazy, but that don't make me lazy. And all you kids out there, you know it's true. So here's a little list of all the things that I'd rather do. And you know that's true. Well, you know, I guess I'd rather just playing games, telling jokes, eating candy all night, TV, DVDs, singing songs, food fights, anything you want now. Find a way to get it. So much fun in the sun, you won't forget it. These are all the fun things the kids really like to do. And you know it's true.
Hi, I'm Nicholas.
And I'm Paiter, and this is Kidz Konnection.
Today we will start our series on war. Our first subject will be World War II. We are very fortunate to have our guest, Billy Ridley, who lived in England during the war.
And later, a lively discussion with Deanie and Nick Van Eperen, who lived in Holland during World War II. And mid-show, we will have a special quiz game just for you viewers. Let's get started.
Hello, I'm Joel, signing in for Kidz Konnection. Here I have my grandfather, William Ridley. How old were you when the war broke out?
I was 12 years old.
12. Do you remember when it happened?
Yeah, it was 1939, but the date I couldn't give you the right date.
Yeah. How did the people around you act? Were they surprised, happy, angry, scared?
No, they were scared. Yeah, scared.
Yeah. Did you have an understanding what was happening out on the mainland of Europe, or were you just...
Yeah, the Germans were at war with the other countries, France and Poland then.
How did you find out when the war began? Was it the paper, radio, or was it just people talking?
No, just people talking, because it was recession years, 1939, and at the 30s were a recession. Yeah, not many people had wirelesses and could afford newspapers.
Yeah.
So it was just by word of mouth.
Where were you living when the war started?
Well, I lived in the outskirts of a city, Newcastle upon Tyne. I'd be about 10 miles from the centre of the city, more or less in the country.
What can you explain how your life might have been different from those living in London?
Different? Well, it'd be scary for them because they were getting a lot of bombing in areas at the time.
Yeah. What was the food like? Was it good, disgusting?
Very bland, very bland.
Oh.
Very bland.
Did you ever have enough? Did you ever run out of food and not have enough?
No, we had rationings at the time. My grandmother, she had a shop and she used to get extra rations for like sailors and the airmen when they come on leave, you know, to cover them. So we were well covered.
Good. Did you have a gas mask?
Oh yeah. Well, World War I, that's when the Germans there started with the gas.
Yeah.
And I had an uncle, he was gassed during that war.
Oh wow.
So that's how they started delivering and giving away gas masks.
So when did you get your gas mask?
Oh, maybe it was about 2 years when the war started, yeah, about 2 years.
Okay. Did you ever have to use it?
No. No.
Thankfully.
Yeah.
So, were there ever any bombings near you?
Yeah, there was, as I say, we lived in the countryside. There were bombings in like Newcastle, the city. They were trying to bomb the shipyards and also Berkeley, like the munition works.
Yeah. Did you have to have an air raid shelter in like your backyard, or was there just a local one?
Yes, we had one in the back garden, yeah.
Oh.
It was like corrugated sheeting.
What was school like during the war?
Just normal. We just have to draft drills like for air raids or something or other, but it was just normal.
Oh. Tell us, when you left school and why?
When I left school?
Yeah.
When I was 14.
And how come?
Well, that was the leaving age, 14 then.
Yeah.
Unless you were good enough to go to college or something or other, which was only the rich people could afford to send them to college. And Yeah, I just started the mines at 14.
So what did you do?
I was coal ewer, ewing coal. I did all sorts down the pit. I was on the surface as well.
Was it hard down in the mines at 14?
Well, certainly, it's, when you're just a kid, just starting work, it is hard. But you got used to it, you built your muscles up and you got stuck in.
Tell us about Bevan boys.
Bevan boys, where they were boys they called them like conscientious objectors. They were objecting to the war and they wouldn't go in the forces and fight. So the government made them go in the mines, in the pits, work in the pits.
How many people became Bevan boys?
A lot. We had a lot down our mine. They were mostly from London and Birmingham, that way.
Okay. Was any of your family in the war?
My family?
Yeah.
My uncle Tommy, he was staff sergeant in the army.
Oh.
He was in the 8th Army. And then had a cousin, he was in the Air Force. And a brother-in-law, he was in the Navy.
Oh.
There's 3 of them, yeah, 3, I can think of.
What was your relief when the war was over?
What was your relief?
Yeah.
Oh, it was great, fantastic. There's nobody likes wars.
Yeah. Well, thank you for coming, sir.
Jubilation.
Okay, we are so glad to have you joining us for Are You Smarter Than an Anchor? Each contestant gets 1 Hershey Kiss for the correct answer, and you can play along at home too. Let's begin. World War II started in what year? The clock is ticking. Okay, you can show your answers. The correct answer is 1939. Joel is the winner. Way to go, Joel. 1 Hershey.
Thank you.
1 Hershey Kiss for Joel. Okay, number 2. World War II ended in what year? You may show your answers. The correct answer is 1945. Joel has won again. Well done. Question number 3. How many Americans served in World War II? A, none. B, 100,000. C, 16 million. D, only German-born Americans.
American? What the heck? What is that supposed to mean? I quit!
The clock is ticking. The answers again are A, none. B, 100,000. C, 16 million. D, only German-born Americans. Show your answers. Joel has won again. The correct answer is C, 16 million. Well done, Joel. Question number 4. What major event ended World War II? You may show your answers. Joel has won again. D-Day, the use of atomic weapons on Japan.
It's the same
Question
thing.
number 5. Who invented the atomic bomb? The clock is ticking.
Tick tock, tick tock. This is.
You may show your answers. Joel has done it again. Albert Einstein. Okay.
Yeah.
Question number 6. Who was the leader of Germany during World War II? The clock is ticking.
I think it's number 1. I think it's number 2.
You may show your answers.
What are you?
I feel sorry for Joel this time. Paiter's won.
Well done,
Adolf
Joel.
Hitler. Well done, Paiter.
Thanks.
I don't know if Joel meant it or not. Okay. Question number 7. What 3 countries fought against America and English forces? The clock is ticking.
I don't know if I won. I don't know if I got this one, but I'm gonna stab at it. Why am I doing that?
You may show your answers. The correct answers are Italy, Germany, and Japan. All right.
Got the word.
Good job.
Russia was on the Allied.
Joel has won again. Question number 8. What city did the United States first hit with an atomic bomb?
I'm just gonna say Tokyo.
It's not.
I'm gonna kill you.
You may show your answers. Joel has done it again. Hiroshima.
Hiroshima. Oh, I knew it.
Question number
I
9.
just did that.
What was the second city hit?
Ooh.
You may show your answers. I'm sorry, but you were both wrong. The answer is Nagasaki. Question number 10.
Nagasaki.
Which 2 countries emerged as a superpowers at the end of World War II? You have 10 seconds.
Oh dear, oh dear.
You may show your answers. The correct answer is the Soviet Union and the United States.
Well, we got half of it right.
Yep.
Okay. Each of you get half a kiss. Okay. Question number 11. How many people died in World War II worldwide? Clock is ticking. Ten seconds. You may show your answers. Paiter, I have no idea what you were thinking. The answer is 60 million.
Oh.
Nice try, Joel. Question number 12. How many were Jewish? Ten seconds. You may show your answers. The answer is over 6 million. Okay.
I got
Good job.
13 million plus.
Question number 13. What major world organization was established to help defuse future world wars after World War II? You may show your answers. Well done, both of you. The United States of America.
What? Nicholas, oh my gosh.
United Nations!
I know. Okay, it is the United Nations. Well done.
I know because Steve works there.
Yeah, well.
I thank you both
I think.
for joining us in this fun game. Thank you very much. Have a nice day. And much thanks for Joel, and he is the winner.
This is your Connecticut. And so is this. You're a part of the problem, and you can be part of the solution. It's up to each and every one of us. As Connecticut recycles.
And today I am interviewing Deanie Van Eperen and Nicholas Van Eperen on World War II. So, what was it like living in Holland during the occupation?
Well, Oma was really small, 4 years old. And I remember my mother waking us all up with my 4 brothers, and we had to go upstairs and look out of the window, and we saw Rotterdam being bombarded by the Germans. It was like fireworks, all these big balls of fire coming down. And that is what I remember the first time when the war started at 1940.
Did you have any relatives living in the war?
Oh yes, a lot of them. Nephews, uncles, of course. I lived there too for a while. But that's not the point. But I was about 9 years old, and Oma here was about 4 years old. But I still remember I grew up very quickly in that particular, the 9th of May, when we were invaded.
Did you have any fighting in the war?
I didn't, of course, I was 9 years old, but still we had a lot of experience with the Germans who invaded us, and we were not doing the things that we used to do as boys. For instance, there was no school anymore. Of course, they took our school, the Germans. And what happened too is that that we were actually more or less put in private homes in 2 settings. So I was in the morning from 8 till 10, and the rest of the classroom was from 12 to 4 most of the time, or whatever the time is. We just kept changing all the time. Were hard times.
Did any German officers come to stay at your house?
Well, we lived a little bit outside of Rotterdam in a beautiful old 200-year-old home. And my father had a studio, which was an artist, on top. And the road was, of course, when the Rotterdam was bombed, but we woke up around about 7 o'clock in the morning of the 9th into the 10th of May. And the whole sky was just plains. And of course, Holland hasn't been in a war for centuries. So all of a sudden the whole sky was not visible and was just plains. We even saw the faces of the pilots. That's how low they flew. And the scariest part was, I was, you know, with 7 kids, I was 1 out of 7. We were all standing out in the yard looking up, and the bombing, where the opening of where the bombs come out, they were opening right on top of our house, and by the time further down, they landed up in the heart of Rotterdam, which was about waves of planes for about 2 hours. It was very scary. The whole house was trembling, and it was something you grew up very fast after those days.
Did you get into any trouble with the German?
No, they were not all bad. Some of them would sing songs to us because they were close to where Oma lived. They were in a big villa where they stayed. And when we were hungry, we would go stand there, you know, and they would give us a slice of bread or something or other, you know. They were not all bad.
The worst time was the winter of 1944 to 45. Since we don't have much time, because I can spend hours on this, but there was a very cold winter. The ice was this thick, almost more than a foot and a half. And the only way we can have food was by go to the east of Holland, which was not that badly occupied by the Germans, because we were isolated for quite a few months in that what we call the hunger winter. And when you went into the streets of Rotterdam, you saw people lying on the sidewalks. They were dying, you know, of hunger. There was absolutely no food. So that was one thing I remember, is that my brothers and I, we made a big hole in the ice, and then we sit there very quietly, and of course the oxygen under the ice, the fish would go to the hole to see the light. Then you would sit there for a long time, and then you grip a big, and usually they were big pickerel, and then we had a meal again that night. You know.
That's nice. How old were you when the war ended?
9 years old.
I was 14. Yeah. It was a nice day. I remember the neighbors came on. We lived on a narrow road with a canal in front, and then the house. And it was my neighbors and I. We got together and we all sang our national anthem, and everybody was crying that day, the 5th of May, in 1945.
And then the planes came over from Sweden, and they dropped down all kinds of bread, beautiful white loaves of bread. And my mother would go on her bicycle downtown, and she comes back with a loaf of bread. That beautiful big slices was this high and this big, and we all got a slice of bread. That was the best thing I ever had in my life.
It was like a cake.
Yes. Yeah.
Was it all fun and no worry? I mean, was it all worry and no fun?
Well, we were scared off and on. I remember that our road was, on the end of the road was a machine gun nest of the Germans. And of course, as kids, we played around it. Some of them had kids themselves, of course. But one day they were taking the bicycles away on that path coming from that side. So they had to go by our house, and on the end of the road where the machine gun nest, they were taking the bicycles of people. So we started warning them before they came there. Said, look, they're taking your bicycle if you end on the end of the road. So what they did, they came right into our house on our property and left in the back of the house. Of course, the Germans weren't dumb. So we sitting there with all 7 kids, my father and mother, and there a big German came in, and he looks very important, of course, in his uniform. He was one of the higher officers, and my father was white as a sheet all of a sudden. Of course, in those days, it was normal if people were killed. So he came in, and he said, he was standing right at our dinner table, and he says, in German, but we understood him most likely, because it's a little similar like Dutch. He says, if you tell one more people that the bicycles are being taken, we will bombard or whatever, we will have the machine level your home. And that is, and then he left again. Of course, he was more or less threatening, but I don't know whether, we never knew whether he meant it or not, but he most likely did.
Were you able to skate on the canals during winter?
Yes.
We did a lot of skating.
Yes, we did. But we didn't have skates like you guys had. We had these wooden strips with laces that you bound around your shoes, and we skated for hours in the meadows and on the big lakes and everything else. It was wonderful.
How many meals during the war did you have a day?
Not many. I remember one of my older brothers, he went one night and he went out, and you were not supposed to stay out till after 8 o'clock, you know, because the Germans would pick you up. So he comes in and he opens and we don't have lights, just one little candle that was on the table. We all sitting around the table. My brother comes in and he said, "Mother," to my mom, he said, "Mother, I have a little dog with me." My mother said, "Please, I don't have enough food for all of you. What do I want with the dog?" He had stolen a cow from the Germans. So then my parents and my brother slaughtered it in the kitchen and put it all in these crock pots because
They
you
had an
didn't
old
have
gramophone, you know, you had to wind up,
Up,
make
and
it
we-
as loud as possible because they had to kill the cow.
So we were singing and dancing with the gramophone. Do we have to, Nico, is he talking to you in the window?
Dat kan je niet zeggen.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Did you work for someone for food and money?
No, actually work. I was too young. You know, the war was over. I was 14, but we had fun. We had our thing. For instance, there was not too far from our house was a depot where the Germans kept a lot of ammunition, and of course the underground, they needed ammunition just as well. So we could steal from the Germans, and during the night we went under the fences. You know, avoiding the shed that, what is it, soldiers that were walking around with the guns.
The guard.
The guards. And then we stole grenades and everything we can get our hands on. And then we're back. But of course, I was only then about 11 or 12.
Oh.
So that was a hairy time.
And what are you doing in the today? What is your trade?
I'm now an art dealer. Of course, I've been always in the arts. You know, we sell paintings, mostly international, as well as to other galleries. We supply galleries with art.
Ah.
That's a nice business. You're never retired. It's just like making music. You know, it's a wonderful business to be in. Maybe you will one of these days.
Thank you for taking time with my interview. I hope we'll see you again very soon.
Hi, I'm Joel, and I'm just thanking you for joining this week's Kidz Konnection. After we give a special thanks to Billy Ridley and Nick and Deanie Van Ypres for appearing on the show, I'd just like to tell you that next week we hope to have another interesting story for you about another war that America was in. You want to know? Well, you just have to wait and see.
Makes me crazy, but that don't make me lazy. And all you kids out there, you know it's true. So here's a little list of all the things that I'd rather do. And you know that's true. Well, you know, I guess I'd rather just playing games, telling jokes, eating candy.